fellas interrupted my kung fu.
World champ for what? World champ for what? World champ for what? For that? Well, that's child's play. Second you shoot the Zofia, you're gonna hop in. That's child's play, Bo.
Hey guys, it's Matic here. So today I want to make another SMITE tier list. You know, I think it's about time that somebody show those SPL pros how to actually build correctly, okay? You see, this is the problem with SMITE Pro League, right? Because you don't have, you know, community tournaments and real rankings, and because you handpick those players, right? People think that those that play at SPL are one of the best, right? So they get a lot of views and a lot of you know, comments, right? But the rest of us who didn't manage to get SPL, who didn't got handpicked, we basically have zero chance to get any views, right? So it doesn't even matter, you know, how much they understand the game. Right? They will get views anyway because people think they're one of the best, right? But the reality is not really like that. So today I want to make another SMITE tier list. It's actually quite hard because I don't really have updated SMITE item tier list here. But let's see what we can do with this. You see, I watched Genetics tier list. You know, he's supposed to be best support player out there. And he's saying that Tapes is the best item in the game, right? I mean, look, first we have to realize that meta is very different, okay? Arena and Conquest have totally different meta, and if you wanna consider yourself to be a good SMITE player, you need to be good at both, because they have totally different meta, totally different counter items. Now the problem with Tapes is that on paper it's a good item, but you're gonna need like 10 minutes to even stack it, and in this time you can already lose early to mid game. So if you go, for example, Virginity, you get stats immediately when you buy the item, and that's the biggest difference. It has way better power spike. And we have to realize that most Conquest teams actually have 3 physical compositions, meanwhile most Arena teams have 3 magical compositions. You see, you have double mage and a guardian in Arena usually. In Conquest you usually have warrior, AD carry, physical jungler, okay? So that's why we always usually go Virginity. Now the problem with Tapes is that, you know, Tapes is good when the snowballing is slow, okay? When the game is slow, Tapes is actually quite good item. You see, Tapes is designed for Conquest, you know. You will never buy Tapes in Arena, for example. There is no way to stack it, for example. But even in Conquest, it's actually not that good item, because when you buy this item, you basically get 0 protections, right? And when you buy Virginity, you get flat protection bonus for yourself and for your team, which is actually huge against early, especially in early to mid game against junglers who usually rush flat pin items, okay? That's why Virginity will always be better than Tapes. And anybody that thinks that Tapes is the best item in the game, or anybody that thinks Tapes is best support item in the game, never really understood supporting at the high level. And those are facts. And I'm not saying that, you know, guys who play at SPL are bad players, but it is true that a lot of these guys have been lacking competition for years. And there is another fact. Most players who only play Conquest, they usually just rely on snowballing and overbuffed high-res items to win their games. They barely know what is counter building, they barely know what is consistency, you know, they don't even buy cooldown, you know. But you know, cooldown is way more important in Arena, for example, so I give them that. We actually got Voidstone, so let's talk about some meta support items. You see, I'm a support man, I have been playing SMITE for more than 10 years now. And I'm really glad they actually brought some of these items back, you see. So let's see SMITE items. We got Voidstone, I mean Void Shield and Voidstone back, okay? So let me see, what is the new icon for Void? Oh, let's see, tier 3. Okay, now we have this item. You see, we used to have Voidstone, but now this is basically the same thing. Now, Voidstone and Void Shield reduce enemy magical or physical protection by 10%. So, we usually see Void Stone, we usually see Void Shield in many Conquest games because we have 3 physical gods in our team. This is what supporting is all about, counter building, seeing you know how many physical and how many magical gods each team has. You see, Voidstone, you see, this is the problem. Why did they remove those items? Not only because people have no idea how to counter build in this game, but Voidstone was never really bought in Conquest, because most Conquest teams have 3 physical composition, meanwhile most arena teams have 3 magical composition. So Voidstone is insanely good in arena, and Void Shield is actually now really good in Conquest. On a warriors, you know. Let's also talk about Shogun Kozari, probably the most underrated support item in this game. Even after the nerfs, when they removed cooldown, this item is still probably best support item in the game. Hey guys, I hope you are doing fine. I'm still a bit of a sick, but I really want to make a SMITE tier list once more. It is actually really hard to find updated tier list with all the newest items, you see. So I'm quite thankful now for whoever made this tier list. So let's see. Why? So not only does Shogun Kozari let you clear objectives like 2 times faster, and it buffs your AD carries, but it also buffs all gods that rely on animation cancelling, like Susano, so they will be able to animation cancel faster. That's why the Crusher was always such a good item, because attack speed is such an underrated stat, you know? So, if you are playing support, and if you are not buying like Shogun Kozari or Witchblade, you are probably trolling a bit, okay? Even though now Witchblade is not that good because they removed physical protection and they made this item more expensive. But if you play against 3 or 4 physical compositions, this item is still one of the best aura in the whole game. So, you know, let's not undervalue it. Maybe those 2 items are not S tier anymore because they kinda nerfed it, you know? But if you are making a support tier list, these 2 items are still at the top and always has been. Now, let's also talk about 2 very underrated items, and I'm also gonna show you some of the secret builds for this game, okay? Where is my warding sigil? Is warding sigil even here? Please. Okay, let's pretend this is warding sigil. God damn it, no, I have outdated tier list here. I think Warding Sigil is probably one of the most underrated starting item in this game, okay? So let's pretend that, you see, this is Warding Sigil, okay? This is actually a secret solo lane meta that even SPL players don't know about. So first you go Warding Sigil, and Warding Sigil makes you extremely tanky in early game. So that's why we can go flat pin item rush after this. You see, we can go Jotun's Wrath. And then after that, we can go Contagion, we can go Shogun. You see, all these items are really, really strong. You know, balanced high-res items, you know. So if you play solo, try this build. Go Warding Sigil, Jotun's, Contagion, Shogun, and I promise you, you will win most of your games. After that, you can go Winged Blade, you can go Void Shield, you know, you have many good choices here. But there used to be a golden rule for warriors. Always go at least 1 flat pin item, and this is what has been lost over the years because people just rely on these over buffed items. They don't really know how to build properly, they don't really understand power spikes, they don't really understand counter building. Even at SPL games, I have seen so many SPL games and most of their builds were outdated, and this is what you get when you ignore most of your player base and when you lack actual experience. You see, Conquest Dota is a 20-year-old game mode, right? And there is actually more counter building, more supporting in typical arena game than it is in Conquest, because Conquest Dota is designed around snowballing. Always has been. Right? You are fighting for resources. And so let's see. Let's talk about Contagion and Spectral Armor, okay? Probably two very underrated items. If you play against any AD carry or any god that builds critical, just buy Spectral. This is one of the strongest counter item in the game currently. Also Contagion. Contagion is so huge, right? You can actually go, for example, on solo lane, you can just go like Bluestone or Warding Sigil into Contagion, into Shogun, and you will win most of your games. Maybe add one flat pen item if you really need it, and that's it, right? If you play Conquest and you don't buy Shogun Kuzari, which allows you to clear objectives 2 times faster, do you really understand what is Conquest all about, right? Pestilence was always good, very good stats. This is a core item. Tips a bit overrated, even though it's kinda decent, but it's very slow. That's the problem, it's slow with stacking items. I think this is also a problem currently with high-risk balance. You see, they buff all these stacking items. You see, they give flat penetration to glows. They gave, I think, cooldown to transcendence. So now people just buy these stacking items and think they know the game, you know. It's... People don't even buy flat pin items anymore. It's like, come on, brothers. So what items also matter? You know, Stone of Binding was also good. If you play more aggressive support, okay? How do we build aggressive supports currently? I already showed you how to build solo laners, but let me show you how to build support. We have 2 starters we can go. Watcher's Gift and War Flag. Okay, so where are these items, brothers? Vai fora tega tier lista, no? Če ni nič itemov gor. Okay. You know, guys, I'm sorry, I just can't find all the items, so please excuse me. And also, I'm very sick at the moment. I shouldn't be even making video, but hey, let's go. I really love SMITE, and you know, when I saw a genetic support video, you know, I just had to make this video, you know, because when people call themselves the best, I have high hopes for them. And it really almost pisses me off that people call themselves best support EU. There are so many good and passionate players in this game. And how can you call yourself the best or champion when you know that you have been lacking 70% of your competition for years, right? So, there are 2 starter items currently for support. We either go Watcher's Gift or we go War Flag. You know, Watcher's Gift was always very good because it gives you really good sustain in early game. So every time I was watching SPL games and people bought that a starter item, I was just cringing inside. Because you have to get value. You have to get value from this sustain. And this is what also people don't understand about Arena. Arena is not just about playing passively and clearing waves. Arena is about consistency, counter building, resetting fights often, and you have to get value out of aggressive playstyle. Otherwise you have no idea what you're actually doing. And the problem with Arena is that it was never, you know, ranked Arena was never removed because of the game mode itself, but because high-risk outdated mentality, because they thought, wow, if we remove ranked Arena, we're gonna attract more players to Conquest, right? So they took away ranked leaderboard rewards from Arena fans, so basically they threw away 40% of their player base and divided the community. Right, this is the problem with Titan Forge. They always say, wow, we don't wanna have game modes because that will divide the community. Don't you fucking get it? Your community is already divided on every corner. When you took away rank functionality from Arena fans, you literally just throw 40% of your player base away. Like, what are you guys doing? So, War Flag is actually really good, you know, especially in Arena. War Flag is really good, especially if you combine it with Shogun Kuzari. You know, you get War Flag, you get Sovereignty, maybe Shogun Kuzari, you know, and you are doing so well. You know, support can be arguably the most important role because you are the one who make calls, you are the guy who make decisions, you are the guy who is supposed to build all these auras. Some of these auras are really strong. If you're not buying Shogun Kuzari or Witchblade or Sovereignty in early game, or if you are buying Sovereignty or Hardware Amulet way too late, you are the guy who's reason why you are losing. right? Support is arguably the most important role, and current meta support item build is most likely Watcher's Gift, Sovereignty, Shogun Kozari. You see, all these items are so good. Spectral Armor, Contagion is insane on any warrior. The more you get focused, the more damage you do, right? And this is here is what we call power spikes. You see, Warding Sigil, Jotuns, Contagion. First you get early game tankiness from Warding Sigil, and then you get you get good offensive stats from Jotun's Wrath, you see? And then we get more protection from Contagion. You see, once they see you are buying damage, they tend to focus you more, right? And this is the perfect time to buy Contagion. You also have to buy cooldown, very important on supports. There used to be saying that you need at least 30 to 40% cooldown to have that consistency on a support. You can also buy Sprint Relic, Blink, so many good things you can do. Valor was always good, you know, physical protection, cooldown and mana. Especially now they removed cooldown from Shogun, so... If you play a solo lane warrior, you just go Warding Sigil, maybe Contagion, Flat Pin item. There's so many good items in the game currently. So let's continue, what else do we have? I'm not really going over all these damage items, but you know, I wanna go over fun items. Winged Blade, always fan favorite. Winged Blade was always fun to use. I mean, the tips is not really that low, but I wanna have some items here. Winged Blade was always good, especially if you combine Winged Blade and Witchblade. This allows you to juke anybody in this game. And what is the meta for relics? For example, in Arena, on support we go Beats and Sprint Relic, okay? You need Beats in Arena, no matter what character you play. And Sprint is actually really insanely good in mid to late game to give your team slow immunity and bonus movement speed. If you combine Sprint Relic, Winged Blade, you know, you can be almost permanently immune to slows every time you go in. You cannot be, if you play a Mir who lack mobility, if you buy Winged Blade, you can play way more aggressively, because even if you get caught off guard, you can still escape. That's why Winged Blade is very important. People don't realize that slow is one of the strongest crowd control in this game, because when you are slowed, you cannot juke, right? So what else? I'm issues, man. I see people buying Mystical Mail. It's probably good on aggressive supports. Also if you buy a Gladiator Shield, which also gives you cooldown. You can actually combine a Glad Shield, Shogun, Valor, and you already have almost max cooldown. Old meta build for supports were actually Witchblade, Shogun and Valor, and this gives you two best auras in the game, both protections and max cooldown, okay? But you don't get any mana from Glad Shield, which is kinda an issue a lot of the time. The problem is, you know, people don't even look at enemy composition. I just watched support, what was he, Cthulhu. He was playing against 4 magical gods and he bought Gladiator Shield and Mystical Mail. Brother, never do that. Always check enemy composition or check who's top damage at the enemy team and then adopt. This is what supporting is all about, adopting. Sure, you have some really staple items, you know, but the support role is all about adopting. And arena players know this very well. There is not really much adopting in Conquest, you just buy meta items, you know. You still have to be, I think Conquest teaches you about consistency, which is very good, but people don't like Conquest because you have this meta-defined starting path you have to do, otherwise you fall behind and you lose the whole game. Why are people pretending that Conquest aka Dota, aka Defend of the Ancients has no issues? It's a 20-year-old game mode, guys. How can people say I don't know how to play MOBA? Bro, Dota is a 20-year-old game mode. And if this is also a big misconception. People think that Dota or Conquest is what made MOBA genre, but they don't realize that MOBA, multiplayer online battle arena genre, is made out of thousands community made maps, and Dota was just one of them. And you guys 20 years after are still only focusing on Conquest Dota and ignoring most of your players base and then expect good results. You always have this, you know, Arena versus Conquest in Smite, you have Strikeout versus Domination in Rogue Company, Deathmatch versus Siege in Paladins, always this divided community where you ignore most of your player base. And then only time you guys mention divided community is when somebody suggests adding old fun game modes back into the match of the day rotation or adding ranked functionality for Arena fans, which what is players have been wanting for last 7 years. I mean, you guys are pretty much clueless and you guys are gonna still repeat the same mistakes, and if you think that new engine will fix all these deep-rooted community and game design issues, you're highly mistaken. So what else? Executioner is very good. You see, Executioner, Void Shield are very good when you have 3 physical gods in your team, right? Voidstone is good when you have, you know, double mage in your team, right? So Virginity is good against 3 physical gods, you know. Then we also have like Hardware Amulet, but nobody really buys this item, you know. Maybe if you buy it in Arena, even there it's not even that good. Maybe it's good in Conquest, Assault, right? But you're better off if you buy Shogun or Winged Blade for magical protection. Voidstone, these are all better items, you know. This item fall off very quickly. And people just need to learn how to juke in this game. They never buy Winged Blade to juke opponents. They buy 6 damage items every game, and when they get focused by the enemy warrior, which is literally his job, they start to complain and blame their teams. And even at fucking SPL level, right? But there is no such thing as pros in Smite community when they just got handpicked, right? They didn't deserve their spots, they didn't deserve it via tournaments, rankings, and even if they did, you only have mostly Conquest players there, North America Conquest players. You basically have 0 international players, 0 console players, 0 arena players, and 0 console, international, arena, and EU, which is the biggest region. I never understood why people buy Genji Guard over Shogun Kuzari. Shogun Kuzari was always a better item. Even though now they removed cooldown from this item, Genji is probably much better. But I will still say that Shogun gives you 30% attack speed, and when you have 3 physicals in your team or even 2, these items give you so much value because you're gonna clear objectives faster, you're gonna get ahead of your opponent. This is what Conquest is all about, fighting for resources. Meanwhile, Arena is fighting with similar resources, okay? Where adopting and counter building and consistency is what matters. So, you know, every time I saw SPL games, they buy Genji over Shogun, I was cringing. Like, Conquest is literally designing around fighting for objectives and you guys don't buy the best aura in the fucking game. Like, are you for real? Okay, next. Gaia, I mean, maybe good against some gods, but it lacks defense, it's not even a good item. And there are just better items, you see. Stone of Binding. Stone of Binding used to be best early game item. Now it's scarce on your level, so you can actually combine it with some other items. It's quite good, especially on gods like Cthulhu or Cerberus. It's actually very good. You can go Watcher's Gift or War Flag into Virginity, maybe Shogun, Stone of Binding. You see, there are so many good items you can do. Spirit Rope was always a pretty decent item, gives you really good stats. It is just that solo laners have better items, and so do support have better items. This is the problem with these items. You just have better items, you see. Talisman of Energy. If you combine this item with Warflag and Shogun, you get some of the best auras in the game, but the issue is that, you know, Shogun will always be better. Winged Blade, Pestilence is actually way too many, you know, you get insane amount of magical defense. You can literally just buy Pestilence and you will take two times less magical damage. It's kinda insane item. I would still buy Shogun, especially in Conquest. Depends on your composition, of course, right? We have Pridewin. Yeah, they buffed Gladshield Pridewin. The issue is that, you know, Pridewin actually has pretty good stats. You get 20% cooldown, especially now they removed cooldown from Shogun, might be very good. but it's quite expensive and it's not really reliable. It's literally just for, you know, cheese. It's cheese, you know, you buy it on Tor or Pele, and then you can fucking one-shot somebody. It's stupid game design. And items that give more snowballing are not really good for the game, like Bloodforge. Bloodforge is still kinda expensive, but this item is S tier in arena if you can proc. This is the problem with this item. It's over expensive, so it's not really that common, but when you buy it on something like Thanatos and you can proc the passive, it's insane, and it just allows for more snowballing, and items that allow for more snowballing are not really good for the game. And this is also a problem with Smite. We only have ranked leaderboard and rewards for game modes that have snowballing, Joust and Conquest. Meanwhile, Arena has no, right? Because this guy thinks that snowballing and it makes the game mode so much more competitive. Like, maybe, how long have you been playing Dota Conquest? People just got bored of it, you know. Dota, many people really don't like playing around snowballing. Is that so hard to understand? Some people just wanna fight others, have fun, adopt, counter build, have consistency, have a good shot caller. Arena games can be so fun if you have good shot caller, if you have people who actually know what are they doing, right? But when you put a Conquest player into Arena who is clueless how Arena is designed, who has no idea about the last 10 ticket system. Let me tell you about last 10 ticket system in Arena. When you have when your team has 10 tickets, and enemy team has 50 tickets, you're gonna lose tickets at much faster rate. You are losing 1 ticket per wave, and they're losing 7 tickets per wave. That's why if you think you can just play passively in Arena and this is how you win games, you are clueless. You guys never really understand how Arena is actually designed. And this is the problem, right? It's always guys who have no idea how those game modes are designed, always talking shit about those game modes. What else? Which item is fun? Yeah, there used to be a meta, you know, Berserker Shield with Shogun, insane attack speed. You get some items to proc. You know, it can be very good, even on AD carry, because you get attack speed, you get physical protection, you know, it's not bad. But the problem with Conquest is that if you counter build too early, too much, you can just fall behind. And this was always a big design issue for Conquest. Counter building actually is not even suggested in Conquest, because there is way more counter building in typical Arena game than it is in Conquest, because this is how these game modes are designed. If you know, this is why people always buy 6 damage items and think they understand the game, when all they do is abuse snowballing in Conquest. So then they have zero idea how to counter build, zero idea how to adopt, even at fucking SPL level. And these guys are supposed to be the best. That really pisses me off. You see, I'm sorry because I don't have all the new items, but it doesn't really matter. What matters is that, you know, the important items. You see, I don't really understand why they remove cooldown from Shogun, because even with cooldown nobody was buying that item, right? I checked so many SPL games, nobody was buying that item. Like what? And then we have these mage items who can just get starter and Chronos and they have almost max cooldown instantly, right? It's a bit stupid. And then you also have, you know, Genetics who play Terra all the time. And if you see, he has this ability, you know, Earth, right, that goes together. And even if, as a Ymir, if you freeze him, he can still CC you. Just like Scylla. Even if you CC her, she can still activate her too. And this is the problem with the balance in this fucking game. This game used to be way more fun and complete and balanced 7 years ago than it is today. Because they're clueless, they have no idea how to balance this fucking game. You know, and then they handpicked their pro players, and they literally designed the whole game around that. You see, they make balance around pro players, which literally didn't even deserve their spots. Jesus Christ, man. Okay, so what else? What else? I'm tired and I'm sick. I shouldn't be even making this video, but you know, I'm passionate about Smite. I have been playing Smite for more than 10 years. And it really, you know what sucks as a Smite content creator? You basically get no views. Because if you don't make drama, or if you're not on SPL, because only those guys who are at SPL, only those guys will get views, because people think they're one of the best, right? Even though they are not. And this is the big problem. That's why you need to have community tournaments, you need to have rank leaderboard, rewards for arena, conquest, rewards, real rankings, otherwise everything falls apart. People love esports because they wanna see who's the best. And if you do things right, you will get sponsorship and viewership naturally, because people will watch naturally, they wanna see who's the best. But when you have no real tournaments, no real ranking, when you handpick your players, this is what you got, a very divided community, right? I need to drink some tea, and let's see. Did we miss some items? Let's see. Oh yeah, Witchblade. Why is Witchblade S tier? Because most conquest teams have 3 physical gods, and if you combine Witchblade with Winged Blade or Sprint Relic, you can juke anybody in this game. On top of that, when you buy this item, for example, against Susano, it will be way harder for him to animation cancel. That's what people don't realize about Shogun and Witchblade. These items are not only good for, you know, to buff your team, buff your AD carry and to clear objectives faster, but also to, this is one of the, you know, best buff and best counter against animation cancelers like Susano. When you reduce his attack speed, his basic attack speed animation will be slower, so he will need more time to actually animation cancel, you know. But this still won't affect Thor, for example, you know. But something like Susano, if you play against Susano, you have to buy Virginity, you have to buy Witchblade, you see. If you play against AD carry, you buy Spectral Armor. If you have 3 physicals or 3 magicals, you buy Void Shield or Void Stone, you see. Contagion is still insane item, you know. And this is what this game is all about. Supporting can be arguably the most fun role you play. But most people just buy tapes every game, they buy slow items, slow stacking items, and they think they understand supporting, you know. They don't. Even though if snowballing is slow, then items like tips or the new cloak can be very good still. But I won't really suggest that you know, it pisses me off every time I watch, you know, this support tier list, and they always put tapes on the top like it's some godly item. They don't realize you need 10 minutes to even stack it. And even once you do, the aura is not even good. Like, what is the point of this item? Oh yeah, look, you get so many stats, blah 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 blah. Those stats don't matter if you don't get focused, guys. You have to buy Virginity against junglers in early game. You have to buy Shogun to clear objectives faster. You have to buy Spectral to counter crit meta, you know? This is what supporting is all about. You know, I have been support main for 10 years. I even lost friends over that, because I was buying Stone of Binding and they were calling me selfish. When Stone of Binding is actually really good, because every time you crowd control the opponent, you reduce their protection, which buffs your whole team, you know? So yeah. So I hope you guys enjoyed this tier list. Let me know what you think. This is probably more like a support tier list. Still some good items, you know. Other items are pretty similar, you know. I wonder how Hammer is right now. I mean, slow is always good, but you get no protections and there are just better items in this game, I think. It's not that it's bad item, you know, slow is very good. Maybe this item is very good if you play like support warrior or something, I don't know. On solo lane this item is not really good because, you know, you don't really need that. Maybe for a jungler. So we'll see what happens. Road of Tahuti, yeah. Midgardian Mel is basically worse Witchblade, even though now they nerfed Witchblade. Midgardian might be actually pretty good, especially if you know how to get enemy attention. This is the problem with most warriors or guardians. You have to know how to get enemy attention. You are like a moving ward, right? You have to have pressure. This is what supporting is all about. Don't be that guy like solo laner that never rotates, never helps his team even though he has 3 level advantage, right? Your job as a warrior, for example, is to harass enemy backline, That's why you need at least one flat pane item so you can actually have enough damage. So that's why we can buy items like Jotuns and Midgardian. So, you know, they see you have a lot of damage, then you go Midgardian. Or you go Winged Blade to juke them. You see, it's about power spikes and adopting and counter building. This is what supporting and warriors are all about. Hydra, yeah, Hydra still has no internal cooldown or what. This item got buffed, but there are just better support items, that's the thing, you know. Especially now we have Void Shield, you know.